Romans chapter 1, verse 20 says that God's invisible attributes can be clearly seen in the world around us. If that is so, we should expect to find that the basic laws of science would point toward a supernatural creator. And it turns out that is exactly what the basic scientific laws show us. Francesco Redi lived in the 1600s, and he is described as the founder of experimental biology. At the time that Francesco lived, it was commonly believed that life came from non-living things. People observed that maggots would appear overnight on rotting meat, or beetles would come out of manure, and the belief was that they were being formed from those non-living things. The belief was called spontaneous generation, or abiogenesis. Redi, through a series of experiments using rotting meat and jars covered with cheesecloth, proved what we now all know. Life never comes from non-life. This is a basic tenet of biology. All living things have a living ancestor at their origin. This is called the law of biogenesis. This scientific law makes perfect sense with the belief in God. God, an eternal living being, is the source of all life here on earth. Evolutionary theory instead attempts to break this known law of science by saying that in this one instance, at the beginning of the earth, living cells arose out of non-living chemicals. There has never been a single verifiable experiment showing that non-living things can be combined in such a way as to produce living things. Not once. This is a fantastic proof of creation and God's existence. Another set of scientific laws that should be considered are the first two laws of thermodynamics. Thermodynamics is the study of the flow of energy. Since everything in the universe requires energy, thermodynamics is very important when it comes to any theory regarding the origin of the universe. The first law of thermodynamics says that the internal energy of an isolated system is constant. One way to illustrate this idea is to think of a snow globe. The snowflakes and glitter within a snow globe can move, they can speed up or slow down, they can change course, but they can't escape, and we can't add anything to it. It is a closed system. Though the universe is vast, it's also a closed system. We cannot add or remove energy from it. Whatever energy we have, well, it's what we have. The second law of thermodynamics looks at how that energy in a closed system works. Energy always seeks equilibrium. If you stick a hot coal in a cold bucket of water, eventually, given enough time, the coal and the water will reach the same temperature. The coal will cool down and the water will heat up until they reach equilibrium. All energy works exactly that way. Another way to illustrate the second law of thermodynamics is to think of Newton's cradle. When you swing one ball in the cradle, it transfers its energy to the next one, and to the next one, and the next one, on and on until it reaches the last ball in the chain, which then begins the whole reaction in the opposite direction. However, every time the cycle begins again, the balls swing a little less distance than before, until eventually the cradle goes back to being still, unless you add more energy. Well, all systems slow down, and they reach equilibrium, a state of uselessness. That is what the second law of thermodynamics calls entropy. Now combine these two laws. If the universe is a closed system, and everything is slowly wearing down and slowing down, where did all the original energy come from? If the natural world can't produce any new energy, where did it come from? The answer is it must have come from somewhere supernatural. Of course, this matches exactly with what we read in the Bible. The very first verses of the Bible say, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was formless and void, and darkness was over the surface of the deep. And the Spirit of God was moving over the surface of the waters. And God said, 'Let there be light.' And there was light." Genesis 1, 1 through 3. The Bible describes God as the creator of energy and the one that introduced life and organization into the universe. These three laws, the law of biogenesis and the first two laws of thermodynamics, point toward a creator who supernaturally infused life and energy into the cosmos.